All right. Good afternoon or good morning, good day, good night, whatever time it happens to be where you're at. My name is Adam Veazey, and this is Microsoft Access 2013. In this video, we're going to be looking at the database relationship paradox that we alluded to in the last video. We're going to take a more educated look at that and how to solve this paradox as well. So let's get started, shall we? The objectives in this video are to create a database that will keep track of people involved in projects in the company. Now, let that sink in. So we got to track people involved in projects. Well, there's two other objectives that we have here too, and they're listed below. One person can be involved in many projects. That kind of makes sense. And one project can have many people involved. That also makes sense. So how are we going to do this using the information that we have learned about Access so far in this course? Well, a lot of people jump back to the last video, they look at the relationship video again, and they say, okay, I got this. We can do it this way, right? We have an employees table, and in that employees table, one of the fields is the employee ID, and we're going to make that a primary key. If you don't remember what the primary key field is, the primary key field is it's a designation you give to a field that every value within that field for that table has to be unique. Okay, so I can't have two employee ID 007s or whatever, or I can't have two employee, ABC. It just wouldn't make sense to have two employees with the same ID. IDs are supposed to be unique. Okay, and then I have a projects table, which has the project ID as a primary key and the employee ID as a foreign key, which if you look at the last video, the foreign key is what lets the relationship happen. All right, and the foreign key does not have to be unique. All right, but the employee ID, if there's an employee ID field in the foreign key, it should exist in the primary key in the related table. So, we make the relationship, and it's a one-to-many relationship. Okay, if you're not familiar with that little sideways 8 looking like guy, that's infinity, that means many. So one employee can be involved in many projects. We're done. Or are we? Because while this works to associate many employees with one project, it does not meet the other requirement of many projects to one employee. Okay, it just doesn't work because the project ID field has to be unique. I can only have the project 005 or project ABC or ABC123 in there once in that entire table. Right? So what do we do? And a lot of people do the following couple of things. They either say, all right, project ID is not a primary key anymore, so I can add as many duplicate values as I want in there. Nope, don't do that. That is bad practice. You always should have at least one primary key in each table. Notice how I said at least one. That gives you it's going to kind of give you a clue as to the solution here. All right, so you should always have at least one primary key in your table, and that's just to protect against data integrity and things such as that. And people try to do other things, like, okay, well, I can add a project ID field in the employees table and relate that back to there. Don't do that. All right, there is a simple solution. I know your mind's probably spinning right now if you're really honestly trying to figure this out about what you do, because it's very, very confusing. The solution is going to be, well, we can't do it that way, and we can't do it the other way either. We can't relate, project ID to employee or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called a junction table. My definition of a junction table is as follows. A small table using a multi-field primary key to avoid a many-to-many relationship. If you remember from the last video, we said we absolutely do not want to use many-to-many relationships. It's not even a mother may I situation. You just don't want to do it. Okay, so, and up until now, every one of our tables has had one primary key field. Well, notice this text here, multi-field primary key. we can have more than one field be a primary key in the same table? You sure can. Yep, you sure can. The general rule is try not to use more than 3 fields for your primary key. Otherwise, it just gets kind of real stupid real fast. And it just becomes cumbersome for the database engine to try to keep up with things and index things and stuff like that. There's a lot of unnecessary overhead at that point as well. So both on a conceptual level, a database engine level, and a developer level, don't use more than 3 fields for your primary key. Please, I'm asking you, you will run into trouble. By using a multi-field primary key or a junction table, it ensures the uniqueness of your data. All right, and we're going to see that when we do the demo here in a minute. It's less stress on your brain because it's definitely easier to think about, and it's not that hard to implement. Right? This big, horrible concept of how do I do this is really simple to implement. You're going to be surprised how easy it is. Okay, if we see the solution more in a, there we go, more in a graphical way here. Here's the solution. Ignore the cards up in the right hand side. I'm going to explain why those are there in a minute. But I still have my employee field with my employee ID primary key field. I still have the projects table with my project ID primary key field. And then I have this little guy here. This is the junction table we were talking about in the previous slide. Okay, this little junction table has an employee ID and a project ID, and they are both primary key fields. You can see that the employee ID has a one-to-many relationship based on the employee ID in the junction table. Now, this one and this many are backwards, right? Because I just copied and pasted it from there. So, shame on me for not paying attention to what I was doing. But one project can have many people. Like I said, just swap these two in your head for right now. All right. And it's not the employee ID or the project ID field that makes it unique. It is the combination of the 2 keys that make it unique, which is what I'm going to do when I go to my card illustration here. You can see from these cards that I have 4 aces. All right. And in a standard deck of 52 cards, because most people throw the jokers out and those instructions are blank card, what are you supposed to do with that? They throw that out. So you're left with 52 cards. It is not the ace that makes these cards unique. It is not the suit that makes these cards unique, right? Because there's, 12 other hearts, spades, diamonds, and clubs in there. It is the fact that this is the ace of clubs that makes this unique within this deck. It is the fact that this is the ace of diamonds within this deck. It is the fact that this is the ace of spades, hail Lemmy, that makes this unique within this deck. The ace of hearts makes this unique within this deck. So it is a combination of the two. So I can have multi-values in there as long as I do not repeat the key, or repeat the combination of the keys. For instance, going back to my card analogy here, I couldn't have 2 ace of spades in a standard 52 card deck of cards. All right, if I do, well, something's probably up. Right? So what I want to do here is look at this, let it sink in. If you have to pause the video before we actually get to the demo portion of this. Okay, and the demo is right here. It's right in front of us. I've already kind of set it up for us, but what I've done is I've made a employees table. It has employee ID, first name, last name, which we didn't have in the PowerPoint presentation just due to real estate limitations. That's fine. And I have a projects table, which has a project ID, which is the primary key field for that table, and the project name field. In between these two, I have an employees and projects table that has both the employee ID and the project ID as primary keys. And the way I did that was, if you go into design view in your table, yeah, that's fine. It's telling us it's open. We can't do anything with it. But you select both of these, and you would click on the primary key field to make both of them the primary key. You have to select multiple fields. Okay? And if the fields aren't in sequence with each other. Like, for instance, if I go to my employees table, and this is just for illustration purposes only, I can click on one field, hold the control key down on my keyboard, click the other field, and it selects the two non-sequential fields. Of course, I'm not going to make last name a primary key. That's just for illustration purposes, because this is really the only table in which I have more than two fields. All right. Now, you can see that in the employees table, if I go back to the datasheet view, there we go, you can see that I have these little plus signs to the left of each record in my table. If I click on that, it tells me which projects this employee is a part of. He's a part of project 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, there's a way to see the project name. We're going to go over that later. I'm just trying to get you guys the concept of a junction table down. Okay? And this person is just involved in project 3. And my projects is Genesis, Manhattan, and Batcave. If I go to project 3, I can see that I have multiple employees involved in that project. Pretty cool stuff, right? So, and the employees and projects table is what makes it all happen. All right. Now, you might have to watch this video 2-3 times, and I had to manually put this data in. Access didn't do it for me. Okay, I had to manually put this data in. So I went through and keyed it all in. You don't want to see my horrible typing skills or anything like that. Let's just face it. So I had to put in all the information myself. Then I went to the relationships window, and I just made the relationships. Now, you'll see one striking difference between what we have here and what we had in the PowerPoint presentation. Here, we don't have the 1 to infinity or 1 to many symbols here, and that's because we don't have referential integrity turned on. Okay? And we don't have it turned on. We're going to go over this in the next video. I try not to shove too many concepts in one video, because number one, some of these concepts are kind of hard to understand the first time you go through them. And number two, if you ever have to review one of the concepts, I want to make it easy for you guys to do so. So if I granularize my videos a little bit, you'll be able to see them better. Alright? Now, before I end this video, a lot of people have asked me, well, how do I get the Access software? Well, there's two different ways you can get it. Okay? And there's going to be links in the descriptions for this that'll take you to Amazon so you can get it. The first link is going to be the Office 2013 Professional software, which gives you everything. It gives you Word, Excel, Outlook, Access, Publisher, and I think a few other little things here and there. And that's the version of Office that contains Access. Not every version of Office contains Access, because Access is one of the more difficult programs to use in the Office suite. Okay? So, if you already have an Office program, if you already have Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and let's say Publisher, and you want to add Access onto that, you can buy Access individually, and that's going to be the second link in the description. They're going to be labeled. The links are going to be there. Click on them. All right, and you'll be able to find what you need. All right. Again, watch this video 2-3 times if you have to. Get this concept down, because this is one of the coolest things you can really do in databases, is relating information. So if you have to go through and watch the previous video again about relationships to catch up to this video, please do so. Watch the videos as many times as you have to get the concepts down. Alright, my name is Adam Veazey. I look forward to doing video 5, where we're going to talk about referential integrity. Alright, have a great one.